If not, let me go ahead on and turn it up a little bit. All right, there we go. That should be good and should be better now. How many of you are having a good day on purpose? I woke up and the sun was shining, and I'm definitely excited about this day that God has made, and I'm here to be a part of it. I am excited about the training that we are going to experience on today. Hopefully, you have your notebooks and you have paper because we are really going to get into the travel side of the business on today. If you haven't already gotten on Facebook with us, make sure you are on our Facebook page because after the training today, I want everybody to leave a comment on your Facebook or in the training group to make sure that you actually get what you need. Or let us hear what you have actually gotten out of this particular training call on today. I can't tell you how excited I am about everything that's going on. We are less than 19 days away from convention where we will be meeting up in the great city of Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm telling you right now, they are down in Atlanta warming some things up where you have the Eye of the Tiger event that's going on right now. Donald Bradley, Spencer Iverson, many of your leaders are down there just warming up for this convention as we are getting very, very, very close to it. I can't tell you how the adrenaline is brewing, and also let it be known, ladies and gentlemen, that there are going to be some very important things that I will be discussing right after the training on today. Right after the training today, well, right before we end this training call. So you want to stick around to hear all the announcements that we have because we have some exciting things that will be taking place at convention that will be historical. And I'm talking about just for the creators of wealth. I ain't talking about the company. I'm talking about those that are a part of the creators of wealth. You are going to see some things that we have in store for you that we will be introducing to you that nobody else will have but us. When I tell you but us, that's going to allow us to take our business to a whole different level. I'm talking about tools that you will be able to use that we are investing in just for our organization. We're talking about alliances that we are going to be aligning ourselves with that's going to allow us to go to the next level of our businesses. And for those that may have been challenged, let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. There is always better things to take that can happen. Do you realize you could go to one event and experience one thing and it could change your business forever? Like an idea, one idea. Many of you are an idea away from exploding your business. You could come to a Super Saturday and literally share something. Something has been shared that will take place that literally be like, that's it. That's what it was that I was looking for. And that is the purpose of these particular things. Anytime you hear someone that is successful doing something you may not know, that might be the hint right there that could have been the, okay, that's for me. So we're going to share some of those things today, and I'm really getting into the travel side because many of you know that what we have said is travel itself is going to go from anywhere an 8 trillion to a $15 trillion industry over the next decade, okay? Over the next decade. So as I share this with you on today. It's important that you get it. Okay, why? Because this is our product. This is our product. I just got a text that came through Facebook that Mr. Mumford at the event, he simply said, watch this, ladies and gentlemen. If you are a travel agent and you're not traveling, then you're unbelievable. If you are a travel agent and you are not traveling, then you are unbelievable. Do you realize? Watch this, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to Angelia. Can you hear me? Because I can hear you.
You hear me?
I can hear you very well. So I want to make sure you know that before you start eating your Cheetos and your breakfast over there, to let you know you are mic'd up and we can definitely hear you on today. National Executive Angelia Butler out of the DMV, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be sharing this particular stage with us today as we go into the travel side. I'm not going to bring her up right this second, but I definitely wanted to just kind of touch bases on what's being said on today. If you are a travel agent, then you're unbelievable. Do you realize that there's certain places in your communication that you cannot communicate unless you have actually experienced it? This is one of the main reasons when it comes down to selling a product, right? In network marketing, what sells the product, okay, what sells the product, can everybody hear me? Can everybody hear me? Yes? Okay. Can somebody tell Sheila to leave the room and come back? All right. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, there's certain places you cannot speak from unless. So, and I'll give you a for instance. I always say that I have an upper hand on most because I used to actually sell travel. People that actually have an upper hand is a person that literally travels. If you have ever, and I'm not talking about like a road trip or things of that nature, right? But I'm talking about somebody who actually travels. Like if you have literally spent money, like I had actually experienced my first cruise when I was 35 years old. That cruise cost me $1,250 that I had paid for. Yep, it took a year. It was on layaway, but I paid for it, okay? $1,250. And that was actually in 2000, no, it was actually 2003, 2000, somewhere 2001, right? So after paying for that and actually going on the trip, it was like, wow, this was just fantastic. I had an excellent time. And most of you know, once you take your first real vacation, it just becomes a bug for you. Am I making sense? It's like, man, I got to do this. This is no longer an option. This is something that must be done. And once you start doing it, it's kind of hard to kind of fall back on it. And when you don't do it, after a while, watch this, ladies and gentlemen, you start to feel that. You be like, oh, I need a vacation. I need to get away, right? So when you look at vacations and really see the value of what we have, it literally comes from an experience of, okay, I have went on a trip. I have done this. So when I, excuse me, when I looked at the prices of the member trips, immediately I connected because they had a cruise for 8 days, 7 nights for $240. Instantly connection. instant connection. It wasn't nothing else to be said. I just had a question. What do I have to do to take the trip? You follow what I'm saying? It's like, ladies, if you have ever purchased a Michael Kors, a true Michael Kors, not the knockoff. If you have ever purchased a Gucci bag, not the knockoff, I'm talking about you literally spent $600-700 on that bag, and you walk into Macy's and they're having a 1 day sale, and you see the difference in price, you automatically connect because you know the value of what it is that you are paying for. Are you following what I'm saying? So when a person, this is one of the reasons why we say, I don't have to convince you or persuade you. Anyone that travels, right? Guess what? And I'm just saying, not want to. There's a difference. Oh, I love to travel because you've seen pictures and what everybody else has done. But a person that travels will invest and make sure they go on that trip, regardless of whether you're with vacations or not. Many of you were traveling before you came into vacations, right? What brought the value home is now that you see that I can do the same thing, get paid to do it, and save money. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. Okay? But it's not a no-brainer for everyone because everyone don't travel. And a lot of people that you think travel is important, it's not important to them. What's more important is that they stay on that job, they work every day, they bust their tail, they do 2 and 3 hours, 20, 30 hours to make sure they just pay bill. But to some people, bill ain't that important. Bill isn't, you gotta have it, but guess what? I'm gonna do what I gotta do because I gotta take a trip. I gotta take a trip. All right. So, with that being said, if you're not traveling, ladies and gentlemen, you're unbelievable. You're unbelievable. So it's difficult for a person to really hear your passion. So, Miss Angelia Butler, how true is that? How true is that?
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you well.
Okay. Oh, that is so, so true. I love to travel and I've always loved to travel. And as you know, I just got back from my Europe trip, which is something that I never imagined that I would be able to go. But the opportunity presented itself with me being a part of vacation. My advisor was advertising a trip to Europe, to London and Paris, and she had already talked with another travel agent. She had pricing. I saw the flyer, and I was still very new in vacation. So I really didn't know what I was doing. But when I saw the flyer, I said, you are aware that I'm a travel agent, right? And she says, oh, no, I didn't know that. And I said, well, I can do this trip for you and I can get you a better price. Now I'm saying this, and I really didn't know if I could do it, but I was going to give it my best shot. And so I took her flyer, and in training in Largo, I had heard about Apple Vacation. And so I contacted Apple Vacation. I sent the flyer over to them, and it took them about a week. They came back, and I told them I needed to do the exact same trip, but I needed to do it for $600 less. So they came back and they said, okay, we can do that, but you're going to need to have a minimum of 20 people. And I said, okay, no problem. So I went back to my advisor and I told her, and I said, okay, I can get you this trip. I can get you the price. I quoted, but I'm going to need 20 people to participate. She says, oh, that's not a problem. Oh, but it was a problem. So by the time she actually got people to commit, the number was like half. So I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I went back to Apple, and Apple says, you're going to need 20 people to get that price. So then I started playing around with Vax and calling other vendors. and I landed on FunJet. So I worked with FunJet, and really they did most of the work. And I was able to get the trip actually after really looking at what the other vendor was going to provide. I was able to get an even better trip and still honor the price. So I absolutely agree that travel is so important. Being a travel agent, you got to travel so that you learn the business. Going to London, I got an opportunity to see what it was like over there in Europe. Now I can speak to that firsthand. I can come back here and tell folks some of the places to go, some of the things to do or not to do, and the very same experience with Paris. So yes, Mr. Kip Satchel, travel is something that a travel agent must do.
Wow. All right. So there was training in this conversation right there. For all those that were paying attention, she mentioned two vendors just now. Am I right? Yes or yes? Did everybody hear that? The two vendors that she mentioned. She mentioned FunJet and she mentioned Apple Vacations. Now, many of us, literally, like she just said, she said she already saw the trip. See, this is huge right here. Somebody, it was her advisor, and I'm thinking that's somebody at your teacher or your instructor at school.
Yes.
Okay, this was her instructor at school that was giving the trip. She then said, oh, she did mention Vax too. Very good, Michelle Honesty. She mentioned Vax too. So then she said, what did she say? She took the initial flyer that they had and then sent that flyer to the vendor. See, many of you are calling around, how can I do this? How can I do this? How can I do this? Understand, a vendor is there to work for you. She didn't do all of this call. She literally called them up, sent them the flyer, and then let them know, because many of you are saying, watch this, she didn't even mention price match. She said, I need the trip cheaper, right? At least $600. That ain't matching nothing. $600, right? And let me know what you can do. And it took them about what? Boom. So here we go with the communication skills. So when you're actually saying, okay, well, how can I do this? Many of you are at work. Many of you have things that you're doing, your parents and everything else like that. So what did she do? She leveraged the vendor to do the work for her. Am I making sense right now? So, like, a lot of y'all are like, oh, I just got in it. She said, I didn't even know what I was doing. What did she say? I didn't know what I was doing or anything. Like most of us that come into the industry, we're pretty new. We put up stuff on Facebook. People start calling us, and then it's like, OMG, what do I do? Well, guess what? I don't think she don't even have to say nothing else at the end of this day, right? That was training all by yourself, 101. See, like I keep telling you, man, one thing can take you home in this business. Wow, that's good stuff, Angela. So she sent them the flyer. They didn't work out. Then the one thing that's really nice about us, how did you know about FunJet and all of these different vendors, Angelia? Like, how did you know about all that?
Well, I learned that from going to training, the training prior to the weekly meetings. They talked about various vendors that we could use for trips.
Now, did you just hear that? Again, you think that, okay, going to the weekly meetings, going to the Super Saturdays. In fact, that convention, ladies and gentlemen, Sunday, I just found out this, there's going to be 20 vendors that Paycation will have in the building on Sunday, okay, that's going to have all of these materials. Do y'all see stuff like this? Do you see this? This is what we call a postcard, right? MSC. Do you see the back of it? It's nothing but a postcard. Do you see this? This is some very good information. Do you think you could put one of your labels on the back of here and send a postcard to some of your customers, right? I want to send this to some of my customers because you are now their travel agent. Just a nice little friendly card that says Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday from your feisty what? See, there's so many things that you can do with this materials. And guess what? I guarantee you, you better have a suitcase extra that you will bring to your convention so that you can have enough room to pack your bags. You follow what I'm saying? With nothing but, and I know many of y'all ain't think of this, but I'm giving it to you right now. Have it so that way you can just pile up, because they're going to have boxes and boxes and boxes of this stuff that you will have. And guess what? Is it a very professional magazine? Yes, right? Is it free? Absolutely, it's free. And what could I do? I could put my label on this, right? And do you think I could go to the convenience store where they sell the Sunday paper and I could take a bunch of these and slip them in the paper so when they get their Sunday paper, they'll look at it and say, oh my God, look at this place here. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. Pictures is what have most people in debt. Pictures is what has most people in debt. Did you hear what I just said? Pictures. It's your visuals. That deals with your feelings. Like, how many times have you walked into Walmart and say you're going to spend, you're going to get some milk and eggs, and you come out, your eyes just seen everything, right? And you walk out spending $100. So it's important to have that. So, back to training. So Angelia, you just said you actually let's talk about that trip to Mexico and booking this trip and the type of commissions that was earned and how you went about this. Just like kind of take us step by step. And after the process of, I believe you said it was FunJet who came up with a much better price. Talk to us about the process of how that went for you. And you are a parent, you are a wife, you are in school, you are doing this business. You got a whole lot of stuff going on. Come on, walk me through this process.
Oh, absolutely. So the trip to Europe, I worked closely with FunJet. And like I said, I was very new when I began the process. So I really didn't know what to do. And it was my first big trip, my first group trip. So I really didn't want to mess it up. So I let FunJet do all the work. They walked me through everything, even posting the payments. Um, they just had an array of tours, and I used the information from the previous vendor just to see what kind of tours that they were going to offer. And as I researched the tours that the other vendor was going to offer, I realized that a lot of the tours were walking tours. And in speaking with a good friend of mine who spent a lot of time in London, she was telling me that there was a lot of smog, and she didn't think that the walking tours would be a very good idea. So I ended up going with tours that were bus, motor coach tours. And then we also did some really exciting things. We went to a Thriller concert paying homage to Michael Jackson. And I thought that was really good. Everyone enjoyed that. We also did a lunch cruise on the Thames River in London, where we got to see all of the different sites, the London Bridge. We were able to see many of the sites just in the conference of a nice cruise. In addition to that, we got to go to Buckingham Palace and watch the changing of the guards and the whole parade and all of the events that go along with that ceremony, which was just phenomenal. And then we finished off in London with a tour of Kensington Palace, which I was so excited about that because I just absolutely loved Princess Diana and was so sad when she passed away. That is where she lived, and that is where now Prince William and Kate Middleton also reside there. So we were able to tour. There's a part of it for the living areas, which we couldn't see, but there's a tourist area that we were able to really enjoy. So, long story short, FunJet really did all the work. I contracted with my advisor to kind of see what she was looking to do. FunJet did everything for me. And then a week later, 1 week from the time that I traveled, I got a nice commission check for the work. And in all honesty, if I were to look at the time that I spent, I probably didn't spend any more than about 8 hours actually working on the trip.
And what was your commission?
My commission was over $1,300.
How many people went?
There were 9 of us that went. Originally, it was supposed to be 10, but one person dropped out at the last moment. So there were 9 of us.
So 9 people ended up going on this trip based on the cost, um, just based on the actual cost of the trip, because she had asked you to beat it by $600. So was it based on the number of people that you brought to her attention that it may have been a little bit more expensive, or was it cheaper?
So the original vendor had the trip for $600 more. And because I wanted the business, I just told her that I could get her $600 less, not knowing that if I could or not,
Hmm.
but I certainly was going to try. And so that was so I when I gave her the cost, it was a no-brainer. It was sold. She immediately said yes. She was going with me. So then it was my job to make sure that I could back up what I had already told her.
Wow. For the excursions, were there commissions for these excursions as well that was added into your commissions?
Yes, they were. They were.
So that was another way of building value on the trip as well, booking it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. And these were just suggestions that you had. Notice she said that she had consulted with other people as well, friends or family that had already been to Europe, that could guide her and direct her. But at the end of the day, spending 8 hours to make $1,300, ladies and gentlemen, on a trip, not a bad business. Is it a good investment of $149 to start this business? Absolutely. Do you think that would be the only one that they would be taking? Absolutely not. So, talk about this next trip, Angelia, that you're about to actually do Punta Cana. And I noticed that you were saying that you're putting like these are trips that look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Notice what I just said. She noticed that there was a flyer that her advisor was giving, right? But her advisor was given the trip, but she ended up on the trip. She ended up on the trip, and I believe Salida also went on this trip with you as well, which was another agent with us in Paycations, and I'll probably try to bring her up onto the mic as well in a minute. But putting your trips together, see, this is what is really amazing here, ladies and gentlemen, when you're in this industry and when you're in this business, putting the trips together yourself. Talk about your Punta Cana trip and how this one comes to pass. And here she getting ready to go to Punta Cana. It ain't even been what, you going back and when are you going?
In May. In May. Before I go there, yes, I want to say thank you so much to my good friend and business partner, Salida Dallas. When I told her about the trip, I told her I was going to London and I asked if she wanted to go. And her first response was, "Are you kidding me?" And yes, yes, I want to go. And she didn't have to think about it. she just did it, and I am just so, so grateful to have a good friend and a business partner that would be able to just do it. Most people would have said, I got to think about it, but she didn't have to think about it. So I was so glad to have her there.
Wow.
Um, Regarding my Punta Cana trip, this is a couple's trip that I put together. In February, my husband and I celebrated 25 years of marriage, but we couldn't really do anything because of school and other things that we had going on. Um, so we decided to wait until the summertime, and since we were going, I decided to invite some other people. So we invited three other couples. So it is a trip for 8 of us going to Punta Cana the end of May. That trip, actually, I will finish paying for it for everybody on Monday. And we will be spending 6 days at an all-inclusive golf and casino resort. It's called the Catalonia Bavario. My husband loves to play golf, so he's super excited about it. His friends also. So I'm just really, really so excited. I have never been to the Dominican Republic. So every opportunity that I get to travel, I'm going to take it. I've had my passport for 9 years, and prior to joining Vacation back in July of 2014, I had only stamped my passport once. I came in Vacation in July, stamped it in October, stamped it again in March, about to stamp it again in May. And then I'm also looking at a cruise for my husband and his family for the month of August. And you better believe I'll be stamping it again in October for the company cruise.
So you're giving this trip to Punta Cana where you just said you invited two other couples to go with you guys, and I think it's you got to have three, right?
Three other couples.
Three other couples. Notice she watch this, ladies and gentlemen. She said her and her husband. This trip is for her and her husband, but she invited three other couples. And are you going through a travel agent or you what?
Yes, that travel agent's name is Angelia Butler.
Oh, okay. Okay. And basically, how much was this particular trip? This particular trip for a couple? Like if I and let's say I and Lynn wanted to go, how much would it cost us to go on that trip?
So this trip cost us, it was $800 per person.
Okay.
It's all inclusive, and we're staying 6 days. So it was $800 per person.
So it's $1,600 per couple, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that's 16 times four, right? 32. That's $6,400. That's actually being paid out to a vendor, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what was your commission on that particular trip?
So that commission will be over 1,000. Um, yeah, that commission will be over $1,000. I want to say it's it's probably gonna be close to the other one, close to the 1,300, maybe a little
Okay,
less.
so how much is your trip costing you?
So my trip is actually gonna cost me less than $500.
Okay, and not only that, but if I'm not mistaken, you can write that off at the end of the year as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's training at its best. See, many of you have family members that would love to travel. Why not give your own trip? Why not give your own trip? Do you follow what I'm saying? That's number one. Number two, as your network begins to grow, Like many of you have people on your teams as well, and you already know how important it is to travel, right? Well, guess what? Wouldn't it be nice to put that trip together? Valentine's Day, Thanksgiving, all of these different types of things that you could generate a flyer, put the price together. Many of you have students, many of you have colleagues, many of you do high school reunions and things of that nature. It is so, and there is so much to offer in the travel industry. Now, how did you go about what vendor did you use for this particular trip?
I use Funjet. Funjet is kind of my go-to vendor because they're so easy to work with, so accommodating. And
Mm-hmm.
so whenever I'm looking for a trip, they're my vendor of choice.
Mm-hmm. And are you able to make payments with FunJet?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. What else do you want to say, Ange? I really don't even know. This has been just an amazing, because do you see how simple this is if you truly do your training, ladies and gentlemen? This is why we constantly saying, um, you will be surprised how much you will be able to travel, and instead of saying, well, I can't afford it, I'm going to cancel my monthly fee to $59. You really have to understand how valuable the business is. If you're having challenges, then guess what? You ask questions. You ask your leaders. You find somebody that's really booking travel, and guess what? You got to start living by faith and just start making preparation. Make a decision that, you know what, I'm going to take me a trip this summer. I don't care if whatever, but make a decision first that don't look at your circumstances. You are in vacations. Like I was talking to a lady today. We are 19 days away from convention. And the moment she said, Kemp, I just can't afford it. I said, what are you talking about? You have a vacations business that pays you weekly. Share this with 5 or 6 people, right? But the mental is stopping the income. The mental is stopping the income. It's literally every person that walks past you, there's income. You follow what I'm saying? Millionaires, all they want to do is get paid off the efforts of them. They know people got money. They know it. And a person that wants to do something, they know that person has $150. They know it. They're not saying, well, the people in my city don't have no money. Really? Like, listen to yourself. So when you look at this and you open up your mind and you simply say, you know what, I'm going to make this business work, regardless, because recruiting is recruiting. What did Angelia say? She recruited 2 of her family. Are those people in the business?
Oh, yes, I have a number of family members in the business. My little niece, who is chatting there, Sharon Allen, out of South Carolina, and she's blowing.
Mm-hmm.
So my cousin, Melissa Kennedy, I see her online. So I have so many of my family members that I have introduced them to this business, and I'm just so excited because really I was a travel agent before I even got into this business because I love to travel, and I was always the one in my family that would put together our trips. So I was doing it for free. So I thank God for Yvette Bumpers who shared this information with me. Since, I mean, it was a no-brainer. When I saw the presentation, I could not wait for them to end it. I was ready to sign up. If I could have said, okay, enough, let me just sign up right now, that's how I was feeling. So I didn't think about $150 because I have many designer bags that are thrown up in the top of my closet I don't even use anymore that I paid more money for that. So this was just a phenomenal business. The investment was nothing, and it has been so super rewarding for me. Um, as you know, I haven't worked in corporate America for almost 2 years now. And so I've been living a lot on my 401k, making those withdrawals, but I was able to write off $31,000, which kept me from paying Uncle Sam one dime. And
Wow.
I have a lot of it to attribute to this vacation, my travel business, which I will always have. Whether it makes me any money or not, it's a value to me.
Wow. I have a question. I'm curious about the Groupon deals. Would it be called a vendor and ask them to match, or would it be called the location directly to have them honor it? Like when a person sees something on Groupon, like you see a lot of people go on Groupon and they see deals. How would you handle something like that?
Oh, well, let me talk a little bit about that because when I started to talk to my friends about the Punta Cana trip, someone said, "Oh, I saw a Punta Cana trip for $600 on Groupon." And I was like, okay. So I jumped on Groupon to check it out myself. And what Groupon does, they start out with a lead price, which doesn't necessarily mean that you will be able to get that price because the dates are not flexible and the locations are not flexible. So that's the scam with the Groupons. So, once you really check it out, it really isn't as much of a value that you think. In addition to that, when I looked at the Groupon, the resort was like a 3 star, and I try my best not to stay in anything less than a 4 star. So the resort we're staying in is actually a 4.5 star.
Mm.
So, but with that, I'm not afraid to reach out and call the vendor. I have called many hotels and resorts when clients ask for particular hotels. I had a client that's also looking for Punta Cana, but they wanted to stay in a resort that FunJet didn't serve. And so I contacted them directly and I signed up with them so that I can serve my clients that specifically request that resort. So there's so much power. The vendors are so willing to work with you. The resorts, once you tell them you're a travel agent and you provide them with your credentials, you give them your number, so your ITIN number, they're willing to work with you. So, I say no Groupons, find an expert, find a travel consultant, a certified one at that, and you can pretty much do anything, go anywhere.
Right. So I got a question for you as well, since we talk about Groupon, because many people are always saying, as far as, well, they went on this site and they saw this cheaper, or people come to, um, our site and it's a little bit more expensive on our site than it is on someone else's site. How do you handle that situation?
Well, I sell value. It is more important for me that my client has a wonderful experience
Hmm.
than go with a cheaper or a more economical solution, but get there and have a poor experience. So I don't spend, and maybe it's me, maybe it's some personal development I still need, but I don't nickel and dime with someone who's adamant about the cost. I let them know that my goal is that they have the best experience. So if it means they've got to pay a little bit more, then they've got to pay a little bit more. And if they're not willing to do that, then I'm not afraid to walk away from that business.
All right. Okay. Notice she said she sells value. Okay. And like you say, when a person is coming and nickel and diming you and things of that nature, maybe that's not the customer. They're the ones that's go, and I can't even tell you how many stories that I hear where people thinking, "Oh, I got the cheaper deal," and then they find out that it wasn't an all inclusive. It was some type of there was another way to, but they didn't understand the lingo. And when you're going into different countries and things of that nature, how important is that, Angelia? Obviously, you traveling to foreign land and not really having a good understanding of the country and places that you're going to, and when you're sending people there, like you went to, I know you were talking about when they went to, because a lot of people don't understand that, a lot of the hotels and things in Europe are a lot smaller and things of that nature and things. But how important is it to kind of do your research about places and destinations that you're sending your clients to?
Oh, it is so, so important to do that, particularly when going to a foreign country. Like, as you just mentioned, in Europe, the hotel spaces are smaller. And that was something that I did find out prior to going over there. So I set expectations so folks would know you're not in a U.S. hotel, so expect the hotel rooms to be smaller. In working with FunJet, I made it very clear that, and I knew I had some constraints in terms of pricing, but there were certain things that I had to have in terms of the hotel rating. In London and in Paris, in London was a 4 star. In Paris, we ended up with a 3 star, but I also had to make sure that every hotel that we stayed in, that it also offered breakfast and twin beds because we had ladies traveling and nobody wanted to sleep in the same bed.
Mm.
So that made it a little difficult for me because in order to get the breakfast and the twin beds, I had to really shop around. And so in the Paris hotel, I read all of the TripAdvisors, and it talked about the hotel being nice, even though it was a less than 4 star rating, but the location was just perfect. There were shops and restaurants and things that tourists would really enjoy. And so as we arrived in Paris, the where the hotel was positioned, the streets are very, very small, and the taxi, the van that was bringing us to the hotel, could not get down into the hotel because he said his vehicle was too large. And so everybody started getting a little concerned and, not knowing, this was our first time in Paris and they, were just a lot of anxiety because it was different. So I had to pretty much talk them through it. And once they actually got in, checked in the hotel, and realized that they, had just a wealth of resources are right around the hotel that were just in walking distance, they had a better appreciation. So, and many times when we see things on TV, it doesn't show the total picture.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, I think everyone really appreciated the location because it was cost effective and it also had a lot of value in terms of people being able to just walk to many different places to get food, to shop. The rail system was also in walking distance, so it was a great location.
Mm. So when you start talking about, you mentioned TripAdvisor, the importance of the shops and restaurants. Like a lot of times when people are on Groupon and not knowing a lot, well, I saw this, I saw that, not knowing these things, this is where the value really comes in, ladies and gentlemen, because man, I can't even tell you some of the experiences. And I had to tell one of my business partners, I said, don't you ever book something that don't have a brand name on it. Because boy, you get down there. I mean, we were literally walking in the basement to get to our rooms around the boilers. I was like, what the? And it was like an ocean front. It was like an ocean view, right? We got the ocean now. We got the view. But when you walked in that place, it was a dolphin on the outside, his tongue. I mean, it was just crazy. And you don't know these things unless you do these types of things, your trip advisories. For those that may not be familiar with these magazines, Travel Agents, Agent at Home, these magazines have a lot of insight on things. And the more versed you are and familiar you are, this is where a travel agent comes in. Okay, this is where the travel agent comes in, and you're able to get that person's business because you become versed. So if I decided I'm going to do a trip to, I was looking in here and they had fam trips. This one was to China. Okay, $999 to China, 11 days. And I was talking about, and you get this kind of stuff in your travel agents. You want to be a travel agent, you have to become a travel agent. But now when you go out to China, you hit the walls and you hit all of the, you get the insight and you start talking like you're hearing Angela. I can see why she gets a lot of business because she's well versed in her conversation and information that she's familiar with. She's not having no problem. All right, Angeline, I definitely want to appreciate you on today. Is there anything that you want to say to those that's listening to you to just kind of go with and, give them one of your pointers or tips that you would advise them as new agents or former agents or agents that's just been in forever? Come on.
I just say use the tools in your back office. As you go down the list of vendors, you're able to see where those vendors specialize, the locations, and pick up the phone and call them. As a certified travel consultant, we don't have any problem. They don't have any problems talking to us. I did learn that with Apple Vacations, if they do the booking for you, they take a part of your commission. So note to self, will not have Apple Vacation do that for me. FunJet is not like that because they literally did everything for my first one. This vacation to Punta Cana, I'm flying solo on this because I know what to do now. So I'm posting the payments and everything. So, but utilize the vendors. Definitely utilize the travel, Spears travel webinars and calls that she does on Wednesday nights. If you want to learn more about being more proficient on the travel side, and going out to the training, get to the weekly meetings early so that you make the training, because in those meetings they also talk about the travel side as well as the recruiting side. So there's just so much information. And in addition to that, I don't miss anything. So if there's a training call, I never miss this webinar on Saturday, even if I have to take it from my smartphone. But there's so much value in the training. Utilize the knowledge of the leaders in the company because they always have some good information to share with you. Super Saturdays, I will not miss. Unfortunately, I'm missing the weekly meetings now because of school, but once school is out for the summer, I will be back at the weekly meetings, but I'm still plugging in to the weekly training calls. So I would just say to anyone, whether they're old or new, stay plugged in. Knowledge is power. The more you stay plugged in, the more information that you will learn, which will help you to be more successful in your business.
There you have it. Well, there was a question. As far as questions, have you ever had to book for a customer utilizing a wheelchair If so, what is something that I should be mindful of?
I have not, but I think I recall in the back office there may be something that addressed that special needs. So I would say check the back office.
Okay. There is a vendor back there that specializes in just handicap. There is one of the vendors that's back there in your back office that does specialize in handicap, and that is a very large community for those that may know people who have actually or wheelchair accessible or just handicapped, maybe special needs or things of that nature. There's a large community for that, and they do love to travel. So if you would, that's a niche. There's a niche market there that you can, the more if you like, you go there, you can actually, find more information and type it in Google's and things of that nature. The way you type that question just now is the same way that I would type it in Google, and you would be surprised the information that the exact way you just typed it. Bam. Guess what? You can type it in Google, and you'll be surprised the information that will literally come up for it. All right. Angelia, oh my God, you have done amazing job. Let's give Angelia a virtual hand clap and appreciation to just show her how much we appreciate it. This call was recorded for your listening pleasure in replay. And if you have some people that did not get it, we definitely want to go ahead and market this business. Market this recording. And as well as, ladies and gentlemen, go over to Facebook, and many of you are on the group page. I encourage you, or I'm asking you, could you do us a favor by showing your appreciation and just going and saying something that you learned in training on today that would be able to benefit someone that may not have gotten to this training and help them understand how important it is to be. Because I guarantee you, somebody is sitting up there right now doing nothing, and they're not in the training because they think it's just the same training. And we do our best on Saturdays to make this valuable training for each and every one of you. So thank you, Angelia. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All
Thank
right.
you so much, Kim Satchel. I appreciate you allowing me to just share my information. I thank you so much for your leadership. And I just love this company, Vacations Forever. Thank you, Yvette Bumpers, for sharing this information with me. So I'm on Facebook. Anybody have any questions? Send it to me. I'll happily address whatever questions I can.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. Well, we have a few things that we want to go over. I'm going to stop the recording right now.